the empire that ruled the world. More than 2,000 years ago, a civilization emerged that would change human history forever. An empire so powerful, so vast, that its influence can still be seen in the modern world today. Roads, laws, architecture, warfare, politics, and even language were shaped by its existence. This was the Roman Empire, the greatest empire the ancient world had ever seen. At its peak, Rome controlled millions of people across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Its armies were feared by every kingdom. Its emperors were worshipped like gods. Massive cities, giant arenas, and magnificent temples stood as symbols of Roman power. But behind the glory and greatness of Rome, there was darkness. Betrayal, corruption, brutal wars, assassinations, and endless hunger for power slowly destroyed the empire from within. How did a small city become the ruler of the known world? And how did the most powerful empire in history eventually collapse? This is the story of the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. According to ancient legend, Rome was founded in 753 BC by two twin brothers, Romulus and Remus. The story says that the twins were abandoned as babies and left near the Tiber River. Miraculously, a she-wolf discovered them and protected them, feeding and raising them until they were found by a shepherd. As the twins grew older, they decided to build a city. But disagreements turned into violence. Romulus killed Remus and became the first king of Rome. He named the city after himself, Rome. Although historians debate whether this story is true, the legend became one of the most famous myths in history and symbolized the violent beginnings of Roman civilization. In reality, early Rome was likely a small settlement of farmers and warriors living near important trade routes in central Italy. The location was perfect for expansion. Rome had access to rivers, fertile land, and nearby seas, allowing trade and communication with neighboring regions. At first, Rome was ruled by kings. But over time, the Roman people grew tired of monarchy and demanded change. In 509 BC, the Romans overthrew their last king and created something revolutionary for its time, the Roman Republic. Instead of one ruler controlling everything, Rome introduced a political system where elected officials shared power. Senators, consuls, and assemblies helped govern the growing state. The Roman Senate quickly became one of the most powerful political institutions in the ancient world. Wealthy and influential men controlled important decisions involving war, law, taxes, and foreign policy. The Republic gave Rome stability and organization. But Rome's success was not only political. Its greatest strength was its military. Roman soldiers were disciplined, loyal, and highly trained. Unlike many ancient armies, Roman legions operated with incredible coordination and strategy. Every soldier was trained to fight, build camps, survive harsh conditions, and obey commands without question. This military machine would soon begin conquering neighboring territories. As Rome expanded across Italy, it faced countless enemies. Tribes, kingdoms, and rival cities all attempted to stop Roman growth. But Rome adapted quickly. The Romans built roads to move troops faster than their enemies. They created strong defensive walls and military forts. They learned from every battle and improved their tactics continuously. One of Rome's greatest strengths was its ability to absorb other cultures. Instead of destroying every defeated people, Rome often allowed conquered regions to keep parts of their traditions and local governments, as long as they obeyed Rome and paid taxes. This strategy helped Rome expand rapidly without constant rebellion. Soon, the Roman Republic controlled most of Italy. But Rome's ambitions were growing larger. The Mediterranean world was filled with wealthy kingdoms and powerful enemies. And the greatest challenge was still ahead. In North Africa stood another superpower called Carthage. Carthage controlled major trade routes and possessed enormous wealth and naval power. Conflict between Rome and Carthage led to one of the deadliest rivalries in ancient history, the Punic Wars. The most terrifying enemy Rome ever faced was the Carthaginian general Hannibal. Hannibal shocked the ancient world by leading his massive army, including war elephants, across the dangerous Alps mountains to invade Italy itself. Many believed Rome would fall. Hannibal defeated Roman armies again and again. Entire Roman legions were slaughtered. Fear spread throughout the Republic. But Rome refused to surrender. Instead of giving up, the Romans rebuilt their armies repeatedly. They learned from their failures and slowly weakened Hannibal's forces over many years. Eventually, Rome carried the war directly into North Africa. Carthage was defeated, destroyed, and erased as a major power forever. Rome emerged victorious. After defeating Carthage, there was no longer any rival capable of stopping Roman expansion. The Roman Republic now dominated the Mediterranean world. Victory brought unimaginable wealth into Rome. Gold, silver, slaves, resources, and treasures flowed into the Republic from conquered lands. Magnificent buildings were constructed across the city. Temples, markets, public baths, theaters, and giant arenas transformed Rome into one of the richest cities in the world. Roman engineering became legendary. They built roads that connected continents, aqueducts that transported water across miles, and massive structures that still stand today. The Roman army protected trade routes, allowing commerce to flourish across the empire. But success created new problems. As the rich became richer, poor citizens struggled. Political corruption increased. Powerful generals gained enormous influence over the military. And soon, ambitious men would begin fighting each other for ultimate control of Rome itself. One man would rise above all others and change Roman history forever. His name was Julius Caesar. Caesar was brilliant, charismatic, ambitious, and feared by his enemies. As a military commander, he achieved incredible victories, especially during his conquest of Gaul, which expanded Roman territory massively. His soldiers were fiercely loyal to him. But many senators feared Caesar's growing power. They believed he wanted to become king and destroy the Republic. Tensions exploded when Caesar crossed the Rubicon River with his army, an act considered rebellion against Rome. Civil war erupted. Caesar defeated his enemies and became the most powerful man in Rome. He introduced reforms, reorganized the government, improved infrastructure, and strengthened Rome's economy. Many ordinary people admired him deeply. But powerful senators saw him as a threat. On March 15, 44 BC, known as the Ides of March, Julius Caesar entered the Senate House. There, a group of senators surrounded him. They stabbed him to death. According to legend, Caesar's final words were, "You too, Brutus." The assassination shocked Rome and pushed the Republic into chaos. Instead of saving the Republic, Caesar's death accelerated its destruction. After the assassination of Julius Caesar, Rome descended into chaos. Political alliances shattered. Powerful generals competed for control, and civil war consumed the Republic once again. Among those fighting for power was Caesar's adopted son, Octavian. Although young and underestimated, Octavian was intelligent, patient, and extremely strategic. He formed an alliance with Mark Antony and Lepidus to defeat Caesar's assassins. Together, they hunted down Caesar's enemies and restored temporary order. But peace did not last long. Soon, Octavian and Mark Antony became rivals. Antony had formed a powerful relationship with Queen Cleopatra of Egypt, and many Romans feared he was becoming too influenced by foreign power. The tension between the two leaders finally exploded into war. In 31 BC, their forces clashed at the famous Battle of Actium. Octavian emerged victorious. Antony and Cleopatra were defeated, and both later took their own lives. With all rivals eliminated, Octavian became the undisputed ruler of Rome. Soon, the Senate gave him a new title: Augustus. This moment marked the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. Augustus became the first Roman emperor. Under Emperor Augustus, Rome entered a period of stability and prosperity known as the Pax Romana, meaning Roman peace. For nearly 200 years, the empire experienced economic growth, military strength, and cultural development on an incredible scale. Rome expanded across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Massive roads connected distant provinces. Trade flourished across the Mediterranean Sea. Merchants carried silk, spices, gold, and valuable goods throughout the empire. The Roman army protected borders with unmatched discipline and organization. Roman legions became symbols of fear and power. Cities across the empire began to resemble Rome itself. Public baths, theaters, temples, and markets appeared everywhere. At the center of this civilization stood the city of Rome, crowded, wealthy, and magnificent. Some estimates suggest that more than 1 million people lived in Rome during its peak, making it one of the largest cities in the ancient world. The Roman military was one of the greatest fighting forces in history. Roman soldiers trained constantly and followed strict discipline. Every legionary carried heavy armor, shields, weapons, tools, and supplies across enormous distances. Roman commanders understood strategy better than most enemies. Legions moved in organized formations and adapted quickly during battle. But Roman power was not built on strength alone. The empire also used fear. Rebellions were crushed mercilessly. Enemies who resisted Rome often faced brutal punishment. Entire cities could be destroyed as warnings to others. Yet many conquered people eventually accepted Roman rule because Rome offered security, trade, roads, and stability. This combination of fear and order helped Rome dominate millions of people for centuries. One of the most famous symbols of ancient Rome was the Colosseum. Built in the heart of the city, this giant arena could hold tens of thousands of spectators. Crowds gathered to watch brutal entertainment unlike anything the world had ever seen. Gladiator battles became extremely popular. Some gladiators were slaves. Others were prisoners of war or criminals forced to fight for survival. A few even volunteered, hoping to gain fame and fortune. Inside the arena, men fought with swords, spears, nets, shields, and sometimes wild animals. The crowds cheered as blood covered the sand. For the Roman people, these games were not simply entertainment. They demonstrated Roman strength, discipline, and power over life and death. Emperors often used gladiator games to distract citizens from political problems and economic struggles. While Rome appeared glorious on the surface, darker realities were growing beneath the empire. Behind the magnificent temples and powerful armies existed a brutal system built heavily on slavery. Millions of slaves worked throughout the empire. They built roads, cleaned homes, farmed land, mined resources, and served wealthy Roman families. Some slaves were treated relatively well, but many endured terrible suffering. The gap between rich and poor continued growing larger. Corruption spread among politicians and officials. Wealthy elites lived in luxury while ordinary citizens struggled to survive. At the same time, emperors became increasingly obsessed with power. As Rome grew larger, ruling the empire became more difficult. Political conspiracies, betrayals, assassinations, and civil wars became common. Several emperors ruled wisely. Others ruled through fear and madness. One of the most infamous Roman emperors was Nero. At first, Nero appeared promising. But over time, his rule became associated with cruelty, paranoia, and extravagance. Stories spread about his violent behavior and obsession with power. Then came one of the most devastating disasters in Roman history. In 64 AD, a massive fire erupted in Rome. For days, flames consumed huge sections of the city. Thousands lost their homes. Entire neighborhoods disappeared beneath smoke and destruction. Rumors quickly spread that Nero himself may have been responsible for the fire. Some claimed he wanted to rebuild Rome according to his own vision. Although historians still debate the truth, Nero became one of the most hated rulers in Roman history. To shift blame away from himself, Nero targeted Christians, leading to brutal persecution. Fear and instability increased across the empire. Eventually, Nero lost support from the army and Senate. Facing rebellion, he fled Rome and later took his own life. His death plunged the empire into another period of chaos. Despite internal problems, Rome continued expanding. At its greatest extent, the Roman Empire stretched from Britain in the northwest to the deserts of the Middle East in the east. No empire in Europe had ever controlled such a massive territory before. Roman engineers built roads across mountains and forests. Fortresses guarded borders. Ports connected distant regions through trade. Latin became the language of administration and law. Roman culture influenced architecture, education, politics, and military systems across continents. Even today, many modern governments, legal systems, and cities still reflect Roman influence. But controlling such a massive empire came at a cost. Rome's borders became harder to defend. Enemies gathered outside the empire. And slowly, the cracks inside Rome began growing deeper.